welcome back to Salmon's Pizzeria. I'm your host, Callum, and I am once again joined by Kieran. How are you doing, Kieran?
Absolutely fantastic after that result on Friday night. Don't want to spoil too much because obviously we're going to go into the game in a bit more depth, but hard not to feel buzzing after that 97th minute winner. Doesn't really happen often for Thistle. It's normally Thistle on the receiving end of a last minute winner, so I absolutely delighted to be on. It feels like a lifetime since the last time we discussed a Thistle win on here. So that's good for a start, but discussing a 97th minute winner, can't beat it.
It's very much been a good while since that happened, which is mad when you consider what it's like the three previous fixtures were against teams that were in the bottom three. So just Vessel. No, not just Vessel, Championship. But speaking of the Championship, we're covering the penultimate round of fixtures. We're nearly at the end of the season. I think for many of us at times it's been a case of we've just been waiting for this point where the end is nigh. We can just forget about football for a bit. But no, penultimate weekend, and we start off with more Friday night action, and once again Falkirk are involved. They were away to Partick Thistle. Now Falkirk, it was another case of second week in a row where it's like if they get a win, that's it, it's sorted, title is theirs. Thistle, meanwhile, very dodgy form, as we just mentioned, where playing the bottom three, and I don't think they got a single win out of it. And of course, facing against a team that's top of the league, and you're hanging on to that fourth place for dear life, it's not exactly the form you want to be going into.
Nah,
but
absolutely not, Callum. I had going into the game, I had no confidence at all. I think I said that in last week's episode. I just wasn't looking forward to it at all. I thought Falkirk were going to turn us over, but I knew, especially after the result against your beloved Raith, I was a bit confident because I know like after that Falkirk would be quite shaky, but I was like, look, Falkirk at the worst could still easily dispatch us, considering how bad they've been, especially against the teams down the bottom end of the table. But you know, the team came out on Friday, and I was considering staying in the pub, to be honest. I just,
are you not like that every week though?
pretty much. No comment. No comment. Bye. Brian Graham gives us a shock early lead 5 minutes into the game. It's a good bit of pressing for Fitzpatrick, but albeit incredibly disappointing from a Falkirk standpoint.
Yeah,
It
but
just
watching it,
seemed
you're just like, what are they playing at? It's just
uh,
like if you're under pressure and you're like at your goal line basically, you're gonna just like clear it, like even if it's out for a throw or something, like
I think
it's
it's more so on the defender than the goalkeeper, but the, keep, the keeper's got to be communicating with his defender as well, you know what I mean? And Graham slots at home, doing what he does best, and that's now his 98th goal for Thistle, 2 away for 100. So if you said that to me about 5 years ago when he signed, just before COVID, I'd have laughed in your face. I don't think many Thistle fans thought he was going to stay, especially after football stopped due to COVID, but he stayed here for decided to stay, and 5 years later he's just about to write himself into Thistle folklore as it hasn't already. But and after that you're on cloud nine, not expecting Thistle to take the lead so early on, especially. It gives you a bit of relief, but then Falkirk kind of start mounting the chances. They had a chance through Calvin Miller, but it was just past the post, and then we've unfortunately got to discuss yet another Bannigan head loss on here. I mean, I could see people saying that the first one, and that I could see that people are saying that were watching it on telly saying that it looked soft, but that first one you can't go in like that. You can't go
I
in
was
with
gonna
your.
say it looked like he went in
He,
like
he won the
it
ball.
stuff
He
off the
won the
ground a
ball,
little
but
bit.
stud shown. You know,
Ah,
it
it's
gives
like
the referee a decision to make. And then if you think the first one's bad, the second one is. I mean, I think the Falkirk player makes a melee at Biggin down and hot in his face when he was nowhere near his face. But again, Bannigan,
it was just that.
he's just his foot is just far too high, and being on a yellow already, and being on a yellow already, and getting into a tackle like that, when you're just giving the referee an easy decision to make, and
Yeah,
could
it's
have
like
easily cost
it
us.
was. It just feels inevitable whenever you like see like a Thistle update on Twitter and it's Stuart Bannigan's on a booking or whatever. You're just like, he's getting sent off. He's going to get sent off. He's going to get sent off. I think it was like there was as mentioned before, there was a head loss at Starks Park, and then in the 0-0 draw against us, looking back, there was very, very easily could have been sent off. And it's just sort of like he's got sent off in this one, and it's to no one's surprise at this point with just what we've seen from him.
I think it's always been in Bannigan's game. That I think he's a player that wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's got to have a bit more discipline. But I think if you take that out of his game, he's going to be half the player he is. But it's he, he let the side down with doing that. You know what I mean? And especially from an experienced head, you expect a lot more better than that, and could have easily cost us. I was raging. I was calling them all the bastards on Twitter and all that after it happened, calling them a clown and you name it, because he's just giving the referee an easy decision to make. And apparently, I think my figure might be wrong here, but I think that's his 95th or something like that yellow card in his Thistle career. I wonder if he's going to get to 100 before one another. Graham getting 100 goals or Bannigan getting 100 yellow cards, but I he's always been like that, and it's you'd think after that you're like, right, we need to hang on here, and then just after that, Arfield gets the equaliser, and it's just a matter of if not when they score the equaliser. And I saw it coming for a mile away straight after that red card, um, and then it's just kind of all Falkirk really, and backs to the wall for Thistle. But I feel like Falkirk did have their chances, and they had all the ball, but they didn't really do much with it, and they lacked in creating clear cut chances. Um,
I just want to ask with Bannigan, with him getting that red card, what games would he miss? So he's obviously going to miss Livingston next week.
Livingston away. I don't know if he'll miss
But I'm just wondering if he'll miss if this will make it
if
if like
this will make the
I'm not sure if
playoffs. I think you
like
might
the
make
first game of
the.
next season because
Uh,
trying to think Scott Brown for the Rovers, he's on. I think he missed our game on the
mm,
Saturday due to suspension, and I believe
uh,
he's also suspended for a potential first leg of the playoffs because he's
yeah.
got something like 11 yellow cards or something
Mm-hmm.
along those lines. So I'm just wondering if Bannigan's reached the threshold for a 2-match ban at this point, and I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
and as well as that, you just feel with this Thistle side this season against Falkirk, that's three games against Falkirk, and or sorry, 2 games against Falkirk and 3 red cards. I mean, you're just wondering where's the discipline in this side. It's brutal. But I.
Yeah, he's leading the league in yellow cards. I've just seen here he's on
Uh-huh.
13. He's on 13 yellow cards,
Sick.
and is only it's like all the red cards are tied at 1. So
It's yeah, just wonder. I think it's things like that leads to how kind of poor this season's been. It's our veterans that have let us down in key moments. You know what I mean? Our so-called experienced players losing a nut and getting sent off, and has led to us dropping silly points and losing games we should be winning. Um, but I then Falkirk cover get a red card quite late on in the game, and in the stands, it looked a lot more worse than what it actually did. Up watching back the highlights, um, I thought his leg was done, but it was very very harsh.
yeah,
But
I
it was
mean,
a real for a Thistle standpoint, massive boost. Gave us a massive boost. We celebrated that like a win, that a goal. Sorry, that red card because Falkirk were on top pretty much for most of the game, and especially after Bannigan's red card. But arguments red, gives us a real boost, gives the fans a real boost, and so it did. In the 96th minute, we get a free kick. We get a couple of corners beforehand, but they don't really amount to much. And a Bladdy comes on, and I was at to my friend that's sitting next to me. It's like, if a Bladdy scores, I'll buy his 6 shots tonight. And we get a free kick on the right hand side, and Turner whips it in, and it's a knock on for O'Reilly, and Abladi just ever so slightly dinks it
Yeah,
past
it's
the
like the
Falkirk keeper.
faintest of touch.
Aye, just a
But
touch,
it's like
and
just enough.
just enough to get it over the line, and it's sparked like generally probably one of the best like celebrations I've been involved in. Goal celebrations, like the place went absolutely mental. At least in the last, probably since the Dingwall playoffs when Fitzpatrick put his 1-0 up at Firhill. It was sensational. Was not expecting it at all. I don't even remember the ball going in. Or who scored it until like the goal announcer, the PA announced it. It was sensational pitch invasions, you know what I mean? And albeit I understand that it can be a bit cringy, but might mean fuck all, but it's a last minute winner. You can't exactly.
The people who complain about that are boring.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pitch invasion when Thistle went 1-0, and I thought that was a bit cringy, you know what I mean? I thought that would come back to bite us in the arse, but
It's like
it was just a
pitch
small
invasion
one,
for a
but
night, like a last minute win or
the
whatever.
last
You're
minute
gonna
winner,
go
like,
mental.
it was amazing. I wasn't on the pitch, I can confirm I wasn't on the pitch, but I did enjoy it just a bit, just a tad. Ended up taking my top off, you know what I mean, as you do. Hugging everybody in sight, people you don't even know. But it was fantastic, and just, you know, just got something out of nothing, and it was absolutely pandemonium, and massive win for Thistle. It was a must-win game, winner takes all for both teams, and we fortunately, come out the other end of it, and it was incredible, incredible scenes, and I say I look forward to Livingston away on Friday night. I don't know
Not
about
something
that.
many people say.
I don't know about that, but look, we can't let the celebrations be in vain. Don't really want the scenes that I experienced in the John Lambie count for nothing in the end, but absolutely fantastic and delighted for the first time in a good month or so. So brilliant.
It's like that Aggie man sending off really did change the game. It's like when watching, I was watching on the TV, and it was at first I was like, oh, that's a bit of a. I thought it was a bit of a dodgy tackle, but then it's like you watch the replays, and you're just like, that's no, what?
Uh, I think he
It
won
was,
his appeal today as well.
yeah,
Argument.
it got
So
rescinded. I
he's.
think I'd seen someone say about how it's like Falkirk have had 2 straight red cards this season, and both times they've been rescinded,
Mhm.
which is ultimately for me very funny. But
And fair,
yeah,
sorry, Callum, for a neutral standpoint as well. There was talk of Abladi being off for his winner. I just wanted, can I get your thoughts on that?
oh yeah, it was like where he was like potentially offside. Yeah, it did look like it might have been offside. I didn't exactly
I
take
think
a
it's incredibly hard to tell, but see if it's
yeah. It's like when you,
see if it's against you. I'm screaming for it offside, but
it's one of those where it's like I wasn't entirely sure from the angle, and I forgot to note it. But yeah, it's just like I believe the referee is one of those who has been like doing a bunch of Premiership games this season, and he's dropped down for this one. And once again, we're talking about the referees who have like had like experience in the Premiership, the VAR, and it's like they come back down and everything just goes to shit. I think he's not even put on like any fixtures this weekend, and it's just sort of like it's just the Championship, isn't it?
yeah, pretty
Just how
much.
it is.
The top flight. fans in the top flight, like to moan about how bad their referees are, so they've got the assistants. I'd
They
like to
wouldn't
see them.
last. I honestly
Yeah, I'd like
think
to see them go through at
the
least a week
championship would give
watching. Yeah,
people an aneurysm.
yeah, it's absolutely shocking. But I look, there's Falkirk fans that are they're blaming the ref and that. But I know Falkirk fans have said, look, no, we were not so much well beaten, but they were like, the referee should not be blamed for that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they had a man advantage for what 50 minutes, basically a full half of football. Yeah, it's like you got to be taking advantage of that. Raith did it. Why can't you?
Aye,
but
but
it's like,
again, I was fearing the worst. I was fearing the worst when it was 11 versus 11 before Graham scored. Never mind when it was
but,
when we had 10 men. But listen, it's probably one of the wildest games of football I've been to in a good while. I think the last proper one, last proper mental game of football was Scotland versus Israel 2-3 years ago now. And
I
I
McTominay
don't
last
think
minute.
I don't think that tops it. But this game had everything though. It had penalty shouts and two red cards and last minute winners and pitch invasions and blah 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 blah. And you know, all that Scotland and Israel game was missing was a red card. You know what I mean? So
Aye.
this game had absolutely everything, and it was fantastic to come out of it on the receiving end with the 3 points.
It's like as you were saying, it's a massive, massive 3 points for Vessel when you're considering their recent form, and of course that fight for fourth. But Falkirk, meanwhile, their last five has seen 3 defeats and 1 draw, and it's this is concerning. Something very, very funny could happen on on the final weekend, final round of fixtures. If Falkirk finish second after all of this, and it's just like I can't remember the last time they were not top. It must have been January or whatever, and it's like air collapse, and then it's like Falkirk just rocketed off into like this huge lead, and then it's just all of a sudden, it's gone. It's just like that's 2 weekends in a row now where they've been on course to like basically win the title and then just fucked it in the final minutes. And I don't want to say I've had like I was saying like way back in like the first half of the season. This is John McGlynn. I've seen him many times before. And when it comes like second half of the season, it just goes wrong. It has not gone wrong this late on the John McGlynn for at Rovers, but it never got so wrong like this. And it's just is he just like concentrated the bottle into like a final like 5 games of the season or something like that? Because I think there was someone. It's like when Aiden put on his Twitter about is this Falkirk bottle one of like the worst ones we've ever seen, and it's like I pointed out no, Falkirk done something worse in League One.
Yep,
Where it
absolutely.
was what like their final 6 fixtures or something like that. They got 1 win and lost 4 of them and dropped from first to fifth or something like that. They didn't even get the playoffs. So it's like they have done this before, and it's like I do not blame Falkirk fans for being absolutely fucking terrified going into this weekend.
Nah, neither. I know Falkirk fans speaking to them before even the official game, they were absolutely shitting themselves, and honestly, I don't blame them to be honest. I would be, especially for a game of that magnitude. You know what I mean? Title hopes on the line, and we managed to spoil their title party. So
Join the club, Kieran.
yeah,
It's a wonderful place to be.
we are normally on the end where when it's a team um, coming to Farnell to win the title, whatever, we're on the receiving end of a huge pumping. Like I remember Celtic won, I think it was 2 or 3 in a row at Farnell in 2014, and scalped us 5-1. So we're normally
I've
on the
just done that
receiving
to
end
Dundee
of
United at the weekend as well. What was that
yeah
one 5-0?
5-0. Yeah, like we're normally on the receiving end. I know it's a kind of bit of a weird comparison with Celtic and Falkirk, but it just goes to show I had that feeling that this is their title party and they're going to absolutely scalp us, but it didn't happen. It wasn't the case, and I'm more happier for it.
It's like looking to take advantage of this result was going to be Livingston. It's just like they're suddenly finding themselves in a title challenge, and it's just all of a sudden come back to them, and they were facing off against Hamilton Accies. Now, Accies, it's an interesting one. They obviously have their point deduction, but they're appealing it. We should be seeing it before the final game of the season, whether it's going to get revoked or not. It's not getting revoked. I'm sorry, it's not getting revoked. But what was it I'd seen? John Rankin. It's like John Rankin. What he's been doing is he's been putting up posters about the stadium with the real league table where it has Aki's with 36 points, so like above relegation or whatever. Just I'm not sure if he's trying to do it as some sort of motivation thing, but it's not working. It's really not working. But this one, Aki's they had a couple chances early on, but it was all Livingston once they got their goal. It was Dean Linus conceding a penalty and then Robbie Muirhead converting just after 25 minutes. Muirhead would get another when Linus makes a save and it just falls to Muirhead. That was 36 minutes. Tete Yengi, second half starts off free header, like just completely free on the edge of the 6 yard box, like at the back post. Just shambolic from Aki's for that. And then it's like from that point on, it was just all Livingston. It could have been 4 or 5, which, considering the goal difference, could have been massive. But it's like with that win, Livingston, they're now level with Falkirk, but they're 8 behind on goal difference. And I know we were joking about what was it? Aki's being involved in a 10-2 with Morton and like hope to win the league when it was them battling out with Dundee, but it could have happened at this game. Your thoughts on this one?
I just to echo what you said, don't get me wrong, I think Aki's did have their chances to take the lead, but they came few and far between. And there were kind of nothing chances really, and then as soon as they go 1-0 up, you know what I mean, it just kills the game for them, and just pretty much natural order really, just completely, relatively comfortable for Livy, and despite the early Aki scare, you could say, but Livy were just too hot to handle in this one, and shows you the difference in league positions, I suppose, and
It's like you
I
can just
it
tell
could have,
that
as you
Aki
said, it could have been a lot more, and if it was a lot more, would have been absolutely huge for the goal difference for the title race. But I kind of fear the worst for Aki's. They're in a bit of a state at the moment where they're off the pitch matters and they're on
they've
the
been in
pitch
a state
matters. I
on
mean,
the
they beat
pitch all
us, but
season.
they beat us. But this weekend they were well beaten and could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it's just like actually, I'm looking now, and they now have the tied worst defense in the league.
Who's the worst?
So they're tied with Edgy with 61 goals conceded. And again, it's like as we mentioned last week. From last week's fixtures anyway. Um, it's like Edgy have been like a mid-table side since 2025. So that just shows that it's like Aki's have just been bad all season. And of course, it's like this 15 points deduction. We don't know what's going to happen with that. It'll probably stay with the 15. It might get reduced to 6. It could be 10. Who knows? The SFA might just double it. Just expunge all their results. Everyone
As
gets
we
a
were saying
3-0 win.
last week, I think we've said it for the past couple of weeks now. But even when they were League One before they got promoted back up to the Championship, they were pretty dire. And a lot of Aki's fans were calling for John Rankin's head, and here we are again. You know, Aki's fans calling for his head once again, but they generally cannot afford to get rid of him. So, aye, it's tough seems for Aki's, and
Yeah, it's like there's a reason why the video that I made on them was about 25 minutes long, which apparently, according it's like someone, um, I was told by someone that apparently board members have heard about it and are not happy with me, and all I can say to them is just don't be shit at running a
aye,
football club.
don't be so
I,
incompetent, and aye,
I just can't believe that. It's like, I've actually rattled a board of a professional football club. and it's Aki's and not Inverness after my trilogy on them, which is funny, if anything. But yeah, it's like onto the playoff race now, and with Thistle winning, what this then meant was Morton had nothing to play for, which I'm sure Aiden is absolutely miserable about. They finished sixth. I mean, it's Morton. What else do we expect from them? But yeah, it's like Morton. They were away to Raith, who I think it's like many other fans were hoping for a draw in that Friday night game because it was a case of it fucks over Falkirk, but also fucks over Thistle a bit. So finding out that he's won that, as mentioned just before this recording, was a case of it was just a case of I'm smiling, but deep down I'm furious. It's just like it's annoying, but it's also really funny. You just got to respect the path. But yeah, it's like with this one, this is another game where we have to talk about the referee. So Morton would open the scoring from a penalty, which was I would describe it as one where it's one that I've said like many times before this season, where it's a case of you'd be wanting it given if it's for your team, but you'd be absolutely raging if it's given against you because it's like the Morton player is sort of it's like the ball goes around Fordyce and the Morton player just sort of runs into Fordyce's back and falls over. It's a weird one. It's just like I had to like go back and watch it a few times just to be like, did that happen? It's just like that was given. But yeah, it was one of those, and Gillespie converted it easily. But Rayford get level before half time through. It's like this came from two miracles. The first one, Sean Byrne had a shot. He's been at the club for 2 seasons, and I genuinely think this is the first time I have seen him shoot. Like, and it's like I think he hasn't scored a goal for 7 years as well. So it's just like, oh my word, he's had a shot on goal. But it's like that got deflected and it went out for a corner. But then Jamie Gullen whips the ball in, and I think it comes off of Matthews. It's like he like flicks it on, and Josh Mullen is there to put it home, which means we've scored from a corner, which I also don't think has happened this season. It's just like any of our goals that have come from crosses have been just crosses or free kicks. I genuinely don't think we've scored from a corner all season. I don't recall it anyway. But yeah, it's like the real story for this game, other than the referee, has got to be Sam Murdoch, Morton's goalkeeper, 17 years old. Aidan mentioned last week it was his first appearance for the club. He'd been brought back as an emergency. He was out on loan somewhere, and it's like he kept a clean sheet. Aidan sung his praises last week, and this week I'm here to sing his praises again because it's like you couldn't tell that this was only his second game of Championship football. Like he was very much the one keeping Morton in this game throughout much of the 90 minutes, just pulling off some like really good saves, and he didn't look uncomfortable from what I've heard because it's like we've played against Is it Stone? Harry Stone, I think his name is. Yeah, goalkeeper who's quite young, and there's been times where it's sort of like you can tell he's a bit shaky. He's not got that experience. You get that, but it's like from what I've heard from people who were at the game, this wasn't the case with Murdoch. So absolutely, fair play to him. Second half, as mentioned, Murdoch making a couple of saves. Raith, the team on top in this half, but Morton would have their complaints at the referee for having a goal disallowed for offside. In the replay, this looked very tight, very tight. But the real, it's like it's like right at the end of the game after Easton has missed an opportunity. Reef have a corner, and it's like this next 30 seconds is just what is going on, because the corner comes in and it's cleared by the Morton player, but it's not cleared with his head. It's not cleared with his feet or any other form of legal way of clearing the ball in a game of football. If you're not the goalkeeper, defender, he's like just like smashed it away with like his forearm or whatever above his head. It's like he's done like a goalkeeper punch, and but he's an outfield player, and you really question how on earth that's not getting spotted by like anyone in the refereeing team. Morton counter-attacked from that, and it's like I'm not sure who it is up front, but it's like just as he shoots and the ball's going into the back of the net, he's called for offside, and so it's just like no one's happy with this game. No one has come away happy from this game. Morton fans are raging because they feel like they've been denied 3 points for the fact that they got 2 goals disallowed for offside. Rovers fans are not happy because of the fact that we got denied a blatant penalty, and also we've dropped points in trying to get fourth. And it's just why? I love the championship. I love the referees. They're so good. They're so good. Your thoughts on this one?
Aye, just to echo what you said. I thought it was quite an end-to-end game. I think both teams kind of had their own spells of dominating the game and feeling that they should have won the match. So in the end up, I think a draw was probably a fair result. But it's just another one of the games in the championship. You know what I mean, or in the lower league in general, where the referee takes the headlines for how incompetent he is. The one that kind of stood out to me was a Morton goal. I think it probably looks just off, but you can't tell with that angle. You can't tell it. It's an incredibly tight call, and if that's a team that's if that's your team, sorry, that goal's no given. You know what I mean? There's no given for you. You're going to be absolutely. Your head'll be in Mars, but it's brutal, and it's just another game ruined by the referee, and we've had our own fair share of that. Referees and officials themselves are just want to be in the spotlight, want to make a name for himself, and can't wait to send players off and book players and all that. And it's just it's no good, and it's just a sad reflection of how shite the officials are in this country, especially in the lower leagues in this country.
It's just like, as you say, it's like with the angles that we got for the highlights, it was for both of them, it was like really tight. It was just like I couldn't exactly tell. I would have had to like start drawing lines on my monitor if I wanted to see if it was offside or not. But yeah, so it's like we move on to it's like with that, it's a case of Rovers 2 points behind. It's like lost ground on Thistle, which is annoying when you consider like the ground gained over the last few weeks, and especially when it's like Thistle's last 2 games are against the 2 teams that are fighting for the title. You're just sort of thinking, this is it, this is our chance, we're going to do this, and it's like, nope. Nope, not happening. But
it's like the worst race for the playoffs ever, man. You know what I mean?
I don't think anyone wants it.
No,
You
can have it. No, you can have it. No, you can have it.
Yeah, it is a waste of time. We can't be bothered. It's like we've both been saying like this like these past few weeks, we're just waiting for our season to be over at this
Yeah,
point.
I've wanted this season over since even before it began. But it's I, I don't know. I can't. I still can't call it. And it's still not over yet. Obviously, it would have been for a Raith perspective. It would have been a lot worse if he's lost. I think if he's lost it
It's like if we
again,
lost, that was
there's 3 points in it. You know what I mean? So you can't even really say it would be done by then. But a draw still keeps you in it just, and
it. Hmm.
I think you have got a more favourable tie out of the two of yous. We've got Livi at home and potential title day, and using away to Queen's Park, a team who's got nothing to play for and have been shockingly bad, but they were actually fairly decent on Saturday. We'll obviously get onto them next, but aye, it's it's been a weird season, and it's starting to pick up again. But I wish it picked up 2 or 3 months ago, not right at the end, and it's actually going to feel weird, you know. If we don't get the playoffs and we fall out, it's going to actually feel weird not going to like having a completely free May. Um,
Aye.
you know, we're always in the playoffs and we've always got this jam packed month of May, but very well could be a free month, and with no football in May for us, and I don't know how to feel about that. Probably delighted on one side, but gutted with we're not in amongst it.
It's like we've had because of going out in cups and whatnot. It's like we've had we've had like Saturdays where it's like we've not been playing or whatever. It's like because it was at a time when we were bad. It's like going up to it. It's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to watch this week. And it's like you get to the Saturday and it's just like, what do I do with my life? What do non-football people do?
Thank God for the pubs and the alcohols and the invention of beer. You know what I mean? Got me
It's
through
like
some tough scenes this season.
absolutely.
I'm talking about an absolute crime scene I witnessed in Kirkcaldy. Um, but aye, makes it exciting. I suppose we never do it the easy way, and I don't know if you can say the same for Raith, Callum, but I would never do it. We never do it the easy way. It's always we've got to take it right down to the wire.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy for us
Absolutely
down
nothing.
here. But it's like team that will have a free May though will be Morton. As just mentioned before, Thistle's win meant that they couldn't get fourth. If they got a win, they could have potentially snuck fifth away from us. But no, that draw confirms that they're finishing sixth, which continues the miracle run of Morton always finishing either fifth or sixth. They're just the most mid-table team. It's sort of like how in the English Premiership you have Crystal Palace always finish 12th. Morton are Crystal Palace of the Scottish Championship. They just exist in the mid-table. They're just there. They're just a team who will just occasionally fuck your shit up just for a laugh. But looking at the table here, what's interesting is if they do win their final game, they will finish the season with 12 wins, 12 draws, and 12 losses, which is the most Morton thing I can imagine. So that's one thing I'll be hoping happens for this final week of fixtures, which if I have a look, oh yes, I definitely hope that happens. They're playing Dunfermline. So as this is the penultimate weekend, at this stage of the season, there's despite everything that's happening, there are still dead rubbers, and well, Ayr against Queens Park was one because Ayr they're guaranteed third. They were guaranteed third after being demolished by Livingston the previous week. Whilst Queens Park they managed to get a draw against Accies to effectively guarantee that they were staying up, just thanks to the gulf and goal difference between them and Airdrie. Um, what happened? Jamie Murphy he'd opened the scoring like 15 minutes in for Air ball just sort of fell to him after a ferry save. But Seb Drozd would equalise for Queen's Park. Yes, Queen's Park did manage to score goals in this fixture. it's been a while since we've talked about that. But it's like he would equalise with a shot from the edge of the box that went into the bottom corner, and then not even 10 minutes later, Roddy McGregor would score to give Queens Park the lead from the edge of the box. But the next highlight after this in the match highlights package, sorry, Ayr, they give themselves a chance to score from the edge of the box, but it's blocked by the referee, which I found quite funny because it's like the ball has like come in from a corner and it's gone like straight to the boy at the edge of the box. But for whatever reason, the referee is like in between the guy and the goal, and he's trying to like get out the way, but he's just gone the wrong way. Effectively, he's like cut across him. It is a wonderful piece of defending if he was a defender and not a referee. But yeah, just a right laugh if anything. But
Could the teams watching that want to snap him up next season? You know what I mean?
it's like saying that it's like in those situations, like when the referee does get in the way, is it not usually like a
It goes to
drop
a drop
ball or
ball, doesn't
something?
it?
I don't think a drop ball was given or something. I swear it's like the highlight just ends with Queen's Park just punting the ball up the park. And it's like you'd think with like a drop ball, it'd be like at like the edge of the box, it'd be like a
Uh-huh.
match, like a chance or like a shot or something. It's like so it's, obviously neither of us were there, so we've got no idea. But just
Uh-huh.
like judging from the highlights package, you're just sort of, huh? I genuinely don't think anything was given for it, which is weird. Ayr would get their equaliser. Mark McKenzie, he'd score a header from 6 yards out with like 10 minutes into the second half. But aside from a Callum Ferry save, which was a brilliant save, which, as we said before, Callum Ferry is just like he just pulls these off by his like the Queen's defence is just god awful, so they're conceding like on average 6 a game for the past 2 months. But that one ends 2-2. Queens have seemingly somewhat ended their absolutely horrendous run of form. It was something ridiculous, like 9 losses in a row in all competitions, and now they've got 2 draws in a row, which is improvement.
Yeah, aye, pretty much. I mean, I think it's probably the best Queens Park I've looked in a good while. I don't know if it's probably the best I've looked since beating you at the starts, Cal. I don't want to bring that up. I don't want to bring unhealed trauma, but I know it's probably the best Queens Park I've looked in a good couple of months. As you said, they've been on a horrendous run of form, and I think overall draw was probably a fair result in the end. But United again looking really poor, and I don't really have much hope for them in the playoffs. But I thought Queens Park did score 2 fairly good goals, but in the end conceding 2 poor goals, and it's just been the story of their season, to be honest.
I was just looking, and it's the first time Queens Park have scored in 6 games since their 2-1 defeat to Morton, and the last time they scored 2 goals in a game was coincidentally against Ayr, but that was the 4th of March. So it's no, it's not been good at all for Queens Park. So they'll be happy with that. Uh, 2 goals is just a bit of an improvement. Whereas Ayr, meanwhile, they've not won since beating Dunfermline at the end of March. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's like they've not won in the last 6. No, they've not won in the last 4. Sorry, and yeah, it's just looking a bit meh.
It's not
They,
form you want to take into a playoff. I mean, at the start of the season, they were looking really good and promotion. Promotion candidates, and obviously they still are. They're still in it. It can happen in a playoff, but yeah, I honestly I don't have much hope for them, to be honest. And you've got to have that momentum heading into playoffs like these, and I don't really see it, to be honest now. And I think anyway, I don't want to speak too soon. They could probably turn up in the playoffs and end up getting promoted and whatever, but I don't know. I just don't see it. And I think your fans will probably agree with me on that. And It's been good start for here, really good start for here, but in the end, I've just kind of fell away a bit, and that's pretty much it.
Yep, and then the final game was Dunfermline at home to Airdrie. Now, going into this one, Airdrie were guaranteed to finish ninth because they were 6 points behind both Queen's Park and Dunfermline, but their goal difference was like double digits gap, and that wasn't going to change over 2 games. Um, Dunfermline, meanwhile, they had their draw last week as well, which guaranteed their safety, similar to Queen's Park. And this game happened. Like, there really wasn't much to talk about. Like, Airdrie had 2 shots cleared off the line in the first half, and aside from that, there wasn't much. It's like the most interesting thing to happen for Dunfermline was Chris Keane trying to scrap half the Airdrie defence. It was like, what is it? It's like he clattered into the Airdrie goalkeeper who was shielding the ball to let it run out of play, and then it's like he started. And it's like Hancock, I think, who's the left back, started having a go at him, and he got booked. And then again later on in the game, one of the centre backs is doing the same thing where they're shielding the ball to play, and Chris Keane just clatters into them, and it's like both of them get booked up, I believe. But yeah, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Dunfermline had the ninth worst defence in Scotland. Out of like the 290 teams that you see in the pyramids, Dunfermline were like ninth bottom for it when it comes to goals per game. And watching these highlights and just seeing them do fuck all made me think I should probably have a look at that and update it just to see what it's like now. Because it's like with a lot of them, it was like lower league teams who had like a couple of games left, and it's like a bunch of them have finished their seasons. And so I thought, you know what, let's update this. You know, they've only have 1 game left, and it's like they were tied on the same amount of goals with Lossy Mafia have just ended their season. It's got worse. The Vermin now have the 4th worst attack when it comes to goals per game in Scotland. And it's like the 3 teams worse than them were first, so in the North Caledonian League, so tier 6, there was BSC Glasgow in tier 10 and Cruden Bay, who play in the North Regions Championship, which is tier 7. So it's like the bottom. So it's like the teams that are like at the bottom of the table of like the bottom tier for their regions are the only ones who are performing worse in front of goal than Dunfermline. It's just incredible, actually. You know, you have to applaud how consistently shit they are up front.
I know, definitely, and I think I've said it to death on here when we've drawn it up, but the fact we can ship 4 of them at Firhill, and it's a mental start, and just shows how shite their seasons have been, to be honest. I don't think they've really impressed me much, and whenever I've seen it, obviously I wasn't at the 4-1 game against Dunfermline, just at the turn of the new year, but aye, but they've not really looked good whenever I've seen them, but I think they're okay defensively, but going forward they're just incredibly toothless, and I
Yeah,
no
it's like
wonder they're
under Neil Lennon. I'm just looking here. So it's like 6 games in the league. They've scored twice. They've scored twice in the last 6 games, and the last time they scored more than 1 goal in a game was the beginning of March, which is worse than what Queen's Park were doing when it comes to scoring more than once. And it's like if this was any, it does feel like this. If it was any other season, this Dunfermline team would be bottom. But it's like we had Airdrie with their start, just trying to recreate Brecon from about a decade ago, and now Aki's with their points deduction, Queen's Park with their implosion since January. Yeah, it's it's like this Dunfermline team and the Aki's team as well just been awful, and just it's a case of just end the season, just find something in the summer. So someone who can stick the ball in the back of the net. It's like, granted, Chris Keane has very much been doing that, but it's like a bunch of those are penalties, and they're just not really creating chances as well. Like, they're only getting like half chances, if anything, in these games. But Edry, meanwhile, I'd say they were, of the chances that did come about. As mentioned, Edry had 2 shots cleared off the line. They were unlucky not to come away with something, which would have put them, what, 31 point? Yeah, that would have put, it would have put them 3 points behind Dunfermline, which, again, it's like, yeah, it's like the points gap would be smaller. It'd still technically have a chance of getting out of that playoff spot, but it's like with the goal difference gap, it wasn't happening. But it's just like with Edry, it does feel like they should have enough to at least make the playoff final in with these relegation playoffs. Whereas it's like, unless they do come up against, it's just like the only team that I feel like can beat them would probably be Queen of the South at this rate. But I just one of those. It's just a case of, it's like for everyone at the bottom of the seat of the table. It's like, it's only, it's like with next week, it's only the top two, and then like the us and Vessel, Raith and Vessel fighting for anything. So yeah, it's very much just a case of just end the season, just last game of the season, just chuck on the kids or whatever. It's like Edry won't do that. They've got to try and keep some form of momentum going into the playoffs. But it's like for everyone else, it just seems a case of just rest whoever, just get ready either for the playoffs or get ready for next season. That's just how it is at this point. Um, any thoughts on these two?
Uh, just echoing what you said, Callum, sorry, it was just a bit of a non-event of a game, to be honest. Both, I mean, Airdrie have got kind of momentum to fight for, so to speak, for the playoffs, and albeit they would be, if they won that game, they'd have been 3 points behind. But I mean, as I said, the goal difference was just too much for Airdrie to overcome. And I do fancy them in the playoffs, to be honest. I think they've done more than enough. I mean, they played absolutely fantastically against Thistle when we played them a few weeks back. I think that's nearly a month ago now, which is mental to think. But um, I think Airdrie will be more than fine in the playoffs, and the only team really that could probably cause bother to them is Queen of the South, as you said. And I mean, I would happily take Airdrie, spot Queen of the South away for Airdrie away. But aye, is what it is. And I mean, as a Thistle fan, you really want them to suffer, I suppose. But no, I think
As a football fan, you really want them to suffer.
absolutely. But
as a non-Edry fan,
but I think they've got enough in them to stay up.
aye, it does feel that way. So we might as well go through the table. Everyone's on 35 games, 1 game left to go. We're almost done. We've almost escaped this season. Falkirk remain top, as mentioned, but they are now tied on points with Livingston after their back-to-back defeats. Livingston have won their last 4, which is fair play to them. But again, the goal difference, Falkirk are on 37, Livingston are on 29. Meanwhile, they're on 60 points. They're 10 points off. They're actually closer to Thistle now. Thistle are 8 behind. They're not, obviously can't catch, but so Thistle 52 points with a goal difference of 4. Raith are on 50 points with a goal difference of 0 still, because we drew. Morton guaranteed 6, 45 points. Dunfermline and Queen's Park are on 35 points each, but again, like last week, Dunfermline minus 13, Queen's Park minus 15 for the goal difference. Airdrie, another point gain, they're 29, but minus 27 goal difference. Which, when you consider the fact that it's like going into the new year, they were on 6 points, is impressive. Like, yeah, that's basically like as I've said, like since the new year, they would be like fifth or something like that. It just shows how calamitous that first half of the season was. And then, of course, Hamilton Accies, who at the time of recording are bottom with 21 points because of their 15-point deduction, who will find out in the coming days over whatever happens with them. So we'll see. And of course, it does mean we get to look at the final games for the championship. I had this up and Google has decided, no, we're not going to allow you to look at that. Cheers. But yes, final games of the season. They're all Friday night, and the one that's on TV is Falkirk against Hamilton. That one is live on BBC Scotland, where they will be preparing for Falkirk to win the league. Accies, do it. I need an Accies win so bad. so bad. It would be so funny. Other fixtures, Livingston at home to Partick Thistle, where of course I'm wanting Livingston to win for it's like Kieran, it's like you've got to are you willing to sacrifice yourself for Falkirk to not win the title?
No.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of a little respect by erasure, to be honest. But I don't know. I mean, it would be incredibly funny, but at the same time, it comes to an expense. I know what I'd rather go for, to be honest. I'd rather see us clinch fourth place and unfortunately sacrifice a
Sacrificing
part
the
of the result
funniest
for.
bottle.
Yeah.
No. What if Accies win, but then you also win? Just like no one wants to go to the Premiership. Maybe that's what this is, because it's like Livingston and Falkirk both have a plastic pitch, so it's just like we don't want to go up. The other games, Raith, their way to Queen's Park, I'll actually be at that one, so I'll be able to give a more accurate report. And then, meanwhile, Greenock Morton at home to Dunfermline, and then Airdrie at home to United. So, again, that is us for the penultimate game week, where we're getting there. One more week, and then playoffs. I suppose we'll have to cover those. But it's been a pleasure hosting this once again, and we'll
Callum,
see.
are you going to mention the charity event?
Oh my god, the charity event! Yes. Oh, I can't believe I've been forgetting about this. Yes, Salmon's Pizzeria do have a charity five-a-side tournament being planned and in the works, and actually it's like mostly organised. We've been announcing teams the last few weeks. Us lot, the championship lot, we're gonna try and we're gonna get a team in, so you'll get to see me be in goal. Kieran will be up front being our Brian Graham. Aidan will be in defence being the hammer thrower from Morton. Josh will try to recreate Scott Arfield on the pitch. And we'll see who else comes along. We're going to have to drag people off the street who are just like, what team do you support? Livingston, you're in. But it's all for Dementia Scotland. We'll put it's like the charity links are on the social medias and on the YouTube. They'll be in the description. At least I hope. I'm not in control of any of it. But where was I? Yes, pleasure hosting, and we'll see you for the final week. The final week, we've made it. Goodbye.